ICE is detaining children. Latest is the 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos, and he was used as bait to bring his father to ICE. And then him and his father were sent to Texas from Minnesota, where they are now in a detention facility. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe, and let's talk about what's happening with ICE and how they're overreaching into American society and turning lives upside down. Those who intend on inflicting trauma and terror on society always ensnare children. Innocent bystanders become collateral damage. If the children survive the trauma, the damage scars and lingers for the rest of their lives. They suffer privately as they grow, feeling detached from others and unable to leave their trauma behind. It shapes their lives, their understanding of society, and their place in it. In using, neglecting, abusing, and targeting children, terrorists show the world who they really are: monsters in human skin. So it is no surprise that ICE's unconstitutional and illegal acts are now rounding up immigrant children. It should surprise no one that ICE is following immigrant families around. It should surprise no one that ICE uses children as bait to abduct and detain them and their parents. These abductions and concentration camp detentions are blatantly unconstitutional and therefore illegal, but nobody seems to be able to stop ICE from its vastly overreaching actions. This exposes a moral rot festering within our federal government that will consume American well-being if it continues indefinitely. ICE must be stopped. Trump must be stopped. The courts must act faster than they have been. And SCOTUS needs to depart from their habit of delaying critical rulings that impact daily lives. We, the people, also have to push our elected leaders to protect our children and the general welfare of a tranquil society. What ICE is doing nationwide is, at the very least, disturbing peace wherever they decide to invade. I say invade because no other word more aptly defines what ICE is doing. The agency tasked with executing immigration and customs law now regularly invades our cities and homes in violation of the Fourth Amendment. They abduct and detain children and adults alike, depriving all of them of their basic due process rights. ICE has built a police state and operates with impunity even when they murder U.S. citizens on camera in broad daylight, even when they abduct and deport American children in broad daylight, even when they chase down children leaving or going to school. Such an oppressive force cannot remain in civilian society without fraying community safety and well-being. ICE practices are not legal or sustainable, but nobody in power seems to be able or willing to stop ICE. Quite to the contrary, even some Democrats voted to provide ICE and DHS with more funding than it already has, to balloon a de facto domestic terror agency to grow bigger than any local police force in the country. Donald Trump's publicly funded private army, ICE, keeps growing as their tactics become more and more extreme. Not limited to physical assault, they purposely use psychological trauma tactics like by abusing children to make parents, families, and communities desperate. We do whatever we can to keep our children safe, and ICE exploits it. They create generational trauma, harming not just individual progress, but also collective prosperity. They intend on making already marginalized communities more helpless and desperate. They intend to make those who don't fit their vision of America into pariahs and people the country should fear and hate. But when we, the people, rise up and push back against ICE and their deliberate terror campaigns, it weakens ICE's resolve. When we peacefully protest in massive numbers like it's happening in Minnesota right now, it draws the world's eyes to social and political problems plaguing our nation. It wakes up people who are not political, but who have basic compassion to know that in a civilized society, we don't deliberately traumatize our children. That in a society of laws, we do not condone flagrant violations of the Constitution and the rule of law. When the masses wake up and voice their dissent, when we determinatively vote and inspire others to vote, we disempower terrorists who seek to divide us. Americans need to wake up to the grim reality that our government is abducting and disappearing children. We need to push back again against the grim reality that our government uses children as bait. It is our government, our taxpayer money that Trump and his regime are using to traumatize us. So why are we letting them? Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.